Collins, where do you stand on this? I mean, at the dying embers of the Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo administration, you decide to pack a public and civil service with thousands of persons who were told by the Minister of State in charge of government communication that
my brother,
your party loyalist.
I also have a fear, and the letter from my colleague, Member of Parliament,
Felix,
even confirms my fears.
Oh, you mean Vincent Assefuwa?
Yes.
Okay.
If we are not careful, this cycle is going to continue, just as Uncle said.
How do you mean?
Did you read his statement?
Yes, I read it.
A future MPP government will reinstate all these affected people. That should tell you the mindset, and not just him, of our political landscape. That once my government comes, everybody who was appointed by the previous must leave for my people to come. That is where Uncle Kwesi is talking about. That is the danger. Now, he makes a very interesting argument about legitimacy. True. Every government is voted into power for 4 years. The 4 years expires on midnight on the 6th of January.
Yes.
Now, I have in my hand Mr. Domelevo's appointment.
Yes.
Somebody just sent it to me this morning.
Okay.
It is dated 19th December 2016. At the time, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama had lost power. The argument about legitimacy, whether this particular appointment was legitimate, based on Ankwesi's argument, because at the time, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama had lost power.
So you're putting that principle to test.
That's the point I'm making.
Okay.
Interestingly, do you know who signed this letter? Mr. Julius Debra.
Okay.
Absolutely. This appointment was signed by Mr. Julius Debra on the 19th of December 2016, when Mr. John Mahama has lost the election.
But here's the thing.
I'm coming.
Okay.
I'm talking about legitimacy.
No, I was going to ask a follow-up question.
I'm coming.
Yes.
I'm talking about the legitimacy.
Yes.
Mr. Julius Debra, the one who is revoking appointments that were made after 7th of December on the basis of the fact that you had lost the election. For the same person writing letters, appointing people just after his party had lost election. But I'm just addressing Uncle Kwesi.
But Uncle Kwesi doesn't speak for the president.
Oh, I've not said so. I get
it. No, because of the arguments
I've not said so. I'm just.
He's entitled to make
yes, I've not said so.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm just saying that
you can challenge the logic and so on.
The legitimacy aspect of it. That's what I'm talking about.
That's the question I'm asking.
And that is where my fear is when my brother Eko says that the next government will bring in all the people who have been sacked. What it means is that if this government appoints people now, and even after 7th of December 2028, they also appoint people, by the logic of my brother, you should be rest assured that the next government will do same, and that is where the problem is. That is where the problem is.
Can I come in?
I'm coming.
Okay.
If the appointment had gone through a certain process, you know, in public service, sometimes you can apply in October.
Yes.
Go through a certain process in November.
Yes.
Get appointed in December. If you're not careful and you do this blanket statement and say everybody who was appointed after 7th should go off, we have a problem. Then you are not careful, you set a precedent which will push my brother Eko Vincent to say that, then get ready. The next MPP government will do same. Uncle, see, my thinking is that these things, the way it is slippery, let's put it in law. 6 months into an election, there are certain things government should not do. Put it in law. If you don't put it in law, people will abuse it. Just when I was in the ministry, 6 months into the election, everybody was supposed to give a handover note to the chief of staff. In fact, we're not supposed to sign any major contracts. We were told. The chief director called me in my office to explain to me the processes and that this is what I'm supposed to do 6 months into an election. Let's have this kind of concrete orders in our laws.
Yeah, so we can expand the transition.
That's the point I'm making. So put it in there and say that once 6 months into a general election, major recruitment, just as you are saying, 100 people, 200,000 people, this kind of thing should stop.
Yeah.
Proud to, because what you do is that all the people you have employed after 7th, they have to be paid. It's going to feed into the fiscal space of the next government.
True.
Absolutely. So in order not to put pressure on the next government and to allow them some space to plan, let's put it in law that, hey, 6 months into an election, 3 months into a general election, don't make any major procurement or employment. You know, you can, yes, of course, you can fill in 1 or 2 spaces. Of course, you cannot say that you're not going to employ nurses, you're not going to employ police or soldiers within this time. But some major ones that you think can hold on so that the next government can have some breathing space in order to plan their fiscal regime, it can be done. Okay. If we don't put in the law, this statement from Eko Vincent will continue.
Okay.
That thinking will continue. That's my fear.
I'm inclined to agree with the basic principles you espouse.
Yes.
I'm inclined to agree with them. I want, however, to point out a certain problem which all of this is creating or has created already.
Yeah.
And that is the undue politicization of all state institutions. So it doesn't matter whether a state institution is dealing with petroleum or is dealing with security matters and so on. These processes, politicize them. Partisan politicization of state institutions cannot be good in a multi-party dispensation. You understand? And if you have a one-party state, that's a different matter. But in a multi-party situation, deliberate partisan politicization of state institutions undermines the very ethos of multi-party democracy. And I think that we should be very careful.
Right.
You know.
Now, for me, obviously, at Collins, having listened to the Minister of State in charge of government communications, where he talks about the fact that one of the reasons why, in fact, the main reason why these appointments are being revoked is because he gives 4 key reasons. He talks about the fact that, 1, what they have found out is that these appointees did not even apply for the job. That's number 1. 2, they were not interviewed. Okay. 3, they didn't even present their medical reports. And then number 4, there were instances where people's appointments were actually even backdated. Because you're comparing when the person was paid as against when the person's appointment letter was even issued. Okay, so it raises the issue about whether the critical steps that were supposed to have been taken were sidestepped or not. And so they are not being dismissed necessarily because the timing of the appointment was problematic, as I understand. But they are being dismissed because there were certain steps that ought to have been taken to regularize their employment. But those things did not happen. And that's why they are being made to go home. Now, I don't even know whether these employees will actually even receive their January or February salary. I can't even tell. Because if what Felix Ofusukwache is telling us is anything to go by, which is you got the appointment irregularly. And so, as far as we're concerned, we do not deem you as somebody who has been legitimately and legally employed. So I just thought I should share this information with you. To sort of... yes. No, I'm not talking about the statement from the Chief. I'm talking about what Felix has said.
No, sir, there's a presumption of impropriety.
Yes.
But in concrete practice, it has to be put to test. Because it is not in all cases that people have to write letters.
Absolutely,
asking for,
Thank you,
it's not in all cases.
Applying for a job.
Applying for a job. It's not in all cases that people have to be interviewed. And I mean it. You understand? So there's a certain presumption of impropriety, which is okay. There's no problem. But then we need to test and take each case and find out why those circumstances we mentioned applied. Okay. Right now, this government is employing people.
Yes.
Are you going to tell me that everybody whose employment has been announced has written a letter application for employment?
That's a very valid question.
Has
very
been
valid
interviewed
question.
and so on.
Yeah.
So you can presume that there is some impropriety. There's no doubt about it. I have no problem with that presumption.
You just read my mind.
But we have to test
Fantastic,
every case,
Right.
On case-to-case basis.
Fantastic, Anguisi.
Our concern should be the prevention of a deliberate politicization of every state institution. That should be our worry, you understand? And I think it's important that the current government or the previous government and future governments ought to take note of the fact that the ethos of multi-party democracy are seriously damaged when we engage in these practices of packing state institutions with party loyalists.
I just received a letter, Ghana Water,
Okay.
as part of the directive from the Chief of Staff. This is dated 11th February,
Yeah.
which is yesterday. Distribution, head office, chief managers, regional chief managers, and then unit heads.
Yeah.
Directive to suspend all new recruits appointed in November 2024.
November 2024.
You see, the confusion that has started. The Chief of Staff's letter was very clear that appointment after December 7th. This is a directive from the Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Adamu Wakili, instructing his people that for them, they are backdating it to November 2024.
We haven't spoken to you.
No, I'm saying that this is the letter I got.
No, but I'm not doubting that you have such a letter.
So,
but listen, I'm not doubting that you have such a letter. Okay. And the dates are clear and so on. What I'm saying is that you need to find out why. If, say, in November,
Yes.
In an institution where there were no vacancies as at November,
Yes.
you get a directive to employ 200 people. It raises cause for concern.
Absolutely.
And there's nothing to do with this December 7th reference point that the Chief of Staff is using. So it's important to understand all of the happenings around this issue in their fullness before you can make a decision.
Yeah.
So the date is interesting, but it is not that material in this conversation.
I just thought I should draw the attention when I saw the November as against the December.
Yes.
Madam Kwesi just read my thoughts completely.
Okay.
Read my thoughts.
Yeah.
I mean, the directive from the Chief of Staff was absolutely clear. He said after 7th December. So Felix cannot be telling us that the timing of it is not important. He cannot. The directive was clear. He can't say that it was irregular, the appointment were irregular, and that is not necessarily because of the time that you were employed. No, the directive from the Chief of Staff
you feel
was absolutely clear.
You feel it's a
that
red herring?
Appointments after 7th of December should be revoked. It's as simple as that. That was the directive from the Chief
You mean
of Staff.
there's a specific group of people who have been targeted?
Yes, but as I said, Ankwesi's point, the point you made, not everybody is recruited. And you have to write an application.
Yeah.
All appointments have been done in this current government. All the chief executives, nobody wrote any application letter and all that. So some appointments are done based on the person's competences, and some are even poached.
Okay.
So you don't have to go through a certain process.
Yeah.
My fear, and as we've all retweeted, is that we should be careful not to create a certain. And this does not happen just in this government. Let me be fair.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be fair. I mean, in my own government, there are instances where some people, I've heard people share their experiences and say that when my government took over, they were asked to leave their bungalows, it happens.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that if you're not careful.
So you're saying that it shouldn't happen.
That's the point I'm making. If you're not careful. But Ankwesi, even in 2025, my colleague member of parliament is telling us.
Yeah.
So that's my fear, the mindset. My colleague member of parliament is saying that in the next MPP government, he's going to return all those people who have been sacked. That should tell you that if you're not careful, you're going to get this cycle. that anytime there's a 4-year or 8-year change, some actions will be taken. And that I'm saying that let's regulate it. We can put it in law and say that 6 months to election, if the appointment is not a major appointment or a necessary one, don't put pressure, fiscal pressure on the incoming government.